Hi, my name's Hannah Robin, and this presentation is on Ryszard Kapuscinski, and it's Into the Danger Zone, Ryszard Kapuscinski. So some background information about Ryszard Kapuscinski was that he was born on March 4th, 1932 in Pinsk, Poland, and then he died on January 23rd, 2007 in Warsaw, Poland. He grew up Catholic and spent most of his early years in poverty, recalling that his shoes were made of bark. Then, when he was the age of 8, he fled with his family to the outskirts of Warsaw because their town, Pinsk, was taken over by the Soviet Union during the early years of World War II. After the war and in 1950, he entered Warsaw University where he studied and graduated with a degree in history. And then after college for about 2 years, he worked as a foreign correspondent for the Polish Press Agency, also known as PAP, where he became an active member of Solidarity, which is an organization to advance the causes of workers' rights and social change. And then at the time, Kapuscinski was a part of a magazine called Kultura, which was also a Solidarity paper. When martial law was declared, which gave military officers the power to control the government, they quickly closed down Kultura and banned Kapuscinski from traveling abroad. Then around the early 1980s and during the difficult time of the martial law, Kapuscinski's work soon came to the attention of a man named William Jovanovich. With the help of a translator, Jovanovich was able to translate many of his books into English and publish them, and that's how the world began to know the unique travel writer Kapuscinski. Kapuscinski wrote multiple books regarding his dangerous travels abroad, but one of them that gained immediate fame was The Soccer War. One of the most interesting excerpts from the book is about Kapuscinski's experience during the 100-Hour War that happened between Honduras and El Salvador. In 1969, the war resulted in 6,000 people killed and about 12,000 people wounded. Through his writings, Kapuscinski traced the origins of the war through playoff matches between the Salvadoran and Honduran national teams for a place in the World Cup. He wrote that in San Salvador, an 18-year-old girl shot herself in the heart after seeing a Honduran score the winning goal during the World Cup because the young girl could not bear to see her fatherland brought to its knees. But when the return match happened and Honduras came to play in El Salvador, quote, a screaming crowd of fans broke all the windows in the hotel and threw rotten eggs, dead rats, and stinking rags inside, end quote. Another book that Kapuscinski is well known for is The Shadow of the Sun, discussing his journey throughout the African continent. In a chapter called 1958 Ghana, Kapuscinski visits the tropics of Ghana and describes it as having a, quote, smell of a sweating body and drying fish, of spoiling meat, of fresh flowers and putrid algae, in short, of everything that is at once pleasant and irritating, that attracts and repels, seduces and disgusts, end quote. He also discusses the experience among the people of Ghana and how they fit this landscape, this light, these smells. As related in the quotes, his words bring life to our sense of sight and smell that makes one feel like they are there in the moment. His ability to create work that is beautifully written and evokes mystery has gained many critics' attention and curiosity, but The Shadow of the Sun is one of Kapuscinski's work that has continued to make critics skeptical based on the way it is written and received. According to a review done by George Packer on the book, The Shadow of the Sun, he stated that the book, quote, has the feel of outtakes from 4 decades of reporting on Africa, a scattering of fragments set everywhere, end quote. He also wonders about the factuality of the book and if the stories have been sitting in a drawer for all these years. But with no footnotes or sources, there is no way of knowing. Packer concludes by saying Kapuscinski's books are brilliantly written, but has no doubt that there is more to this story than what he is saying. Some accusations and criticisms of Kapuscinski's work stated that he was embellishing some of his books. They noticed that some essays were not adding up and believed that there were some fake facts in his writings. Biographer Artur Domoslavsky tried to prove in his book that on multiple occasions Kapuscinski strayed away from telling the truth. Domoslavsky often stated that there were many inaccurate details within Kapuscinski's writings, claiming he had witnessed events even though he was not present at all. For example, stating that he experienced and was there during the 1968 massacre in Mexico when really he was not. On other occasions, he invented images to suit his story, which meant he exaggerated about his experiences to make it seem more pleasing and interesting to his readers. This began the debate and everlasting discussion about the borders of fiction and nonfiction journalism. However, literary researchers proved that the presence of some type of fiction in Kapuscinski's work was a way of storytelling. They proved that he was not lying, but probably wrote in this manner as a way to create a literary vision based on real life experiences. Domoslavsky agreed by saying that Kapuscinski must have been experimenting in journalism and just did not realize he had crossed the line between journalism and literature. Even though Domoslavsky believed Kapuscinski wasn't honest at times, he still believed that his books were, quote, wonderful and precious, but ultimately they belonged in fiction, end quote. To conclude, Ryszard Kapuscinski is considered a renowned and respected world journalist who traveled to remote locations, delving into dangerous situations to get the best story possible. After viewing 27 revolutions, jailed 40 times, surviving 4 death sentences, contracting tuberculosis, malaria, and blood poisoning, and nearly being set ablaze, Kapuscinski can be considered a real-life superhero. Not only is Kapuscinski brave, he is also a mystery, leaving many audiences to wonder about his intentions and truthfulness. Even though he may have been criticized for his unique writing style, his work has inspired many authors to combine and intertwine fiction and nonfiction writing, even to this day.